And time for this week's edition of the GEICO 15 Minutes or Less Coaches Show with the head coach of the College of Charleston, Doug Wojcik, brought to you by GEICO, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Call GEICO at 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO, or visit geico.com. And once again, we welcome you inside TD Arena here in downtown Charleston. And Coach, a lot to talk about this week. We'll talk about the Louisville game, kind of put a cap on that. But first things first, you and I were just joking. This is kind of a strange week because you guys have a bunch of games early on. You have the Charleston Classic, you get into a routine, and then all of a sudden finals comes and everything kind of comes to a halt as the guys concentrate on their school.
Yeah, you feel like you're not doing anything, you know, in the sense that you go and prepare for games. And now you really have to take into consideration what their stress level is, what their exam schedule is. The exam schedule is completely different for different guys on the team. People are getting out of town. So it's one of those times as a college basketball player, you get through that, but at the same time, you realize you're staying and you have games to play. And so we're just trying to manage it and kind of massage it perfectly for their schedule and then get back after it. Really, probably on a normal routine tomorrow.
So how do the guys handle this during finals week? I mean, do they really hunker down for their school? Or do you guys practice a little bit, do any type of workout? How much can you guys do?
Well, I don't want to kind of take away from academia, but sometimes finals week isn't really all that bad for some of these kids. Sometimes they have their finals at the end of the academic semester. Sometimes professors give them to them before the exam schedules really come into play. So a few of them really only had one exam, so it's a lot of free time to some extent. I want them to get healthy and rested. I thought we were a tired team last week, but it all depends on the class schedule and what courses you're taking.
Well, again, pretty soon you guys will head back into it. First, let's kind of recap this first half of this first part of the season. Ends with that loss against Louisville. I know a disappointing loss for you guys. Turnovers, obviously the big issue with 27 turnovers. Now that you've had a chance to watch the tape, how much did you learn from watching that tape?
Well, I mean, I think I was more disappointed for our fans and the students. I thought they just did an incredible. They played better that night than we did, our fans and our students. But ultimately, they're a really good team. Not making excuses. I don't want to take anything away from them. They're a really good team. We didn't catch them by surprise one bit. We just didn't take care of the basketball. They played us a matchup zone, which I take as a compliment. I've said that before. St. John's did the same thing. Yep. And eventually, they just didn't want to guard all of our man offense. So I kind of have moved on to some degree. I think you have to. Obviously, the major bright spot of the whole night was certainly a Jai Baru's performance. And for us to get through 8 games and 5 of them at 4-1 with a 4-1 record without Trent Wiedemann and Ajay play those kind of minutes without fouling is really a major accomplishment for our team as we go forward.
You know, I wanted to ask you, Danny Johnson brought up during the radio broadcast, I thought this is a good point. He said, hey, in the game of basketball, everyone steals from each other. Coaches steal plays from other coaches, players steal stuff. What do you think? He was thinking maybe the players could steal the attention to detail and the energy that Louisville had. Do you think the players watch that at all and say, hey, yeah, that's the type of level we need to play at?
Absolutely, in terms of playing hard. I mean, they play hard. Now, I will tell you, Peyton Siva and Russ Smith they have an incredible endurance. You can't just turn on the switch and say, hey, I want to have that type of endurance. They're where they're at because of who they are for the most part. And then on the other side of it is size, speed, and quickness. They were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. Ultimately, their big kids were really probably 245, 250, 255 pounds. And as the law of gross tonnage goes, at some point you kind of give in to that kind of strength. But they did play hard. I don't think they play hard like that all the time. That's why they lose from time to time. That's why they had a 3-point game against Illinois State last Saturday. But they're a good team. That's why they're considered the best backcourt in the country.
As we kind of put a cap on the first 8 games, again going into this finals break, what's been your biggest surprise, and what's the biggest thing that you're concerned about that the guys need to work on so far?
Well, the biggest thing you have to work on is certainly take care of the basketball. I mean, if I had some folks in the locker room before the Louisville game, and priority number one, key number one to the game was take care of the basketball, strong with the ball. We do not have a great assist to turnover ratio. We do shoot the ball well, minus the Louisville game. We do have to improve our free throw shooting for the most part, but assists, helping each other get baskets. We do throw the ball inside, so we tend to get more assists or more turnovers because of our post play than maybe other teams because they don't throw it inside as much. Biggest surprise is probably Ajay. I think he's made the biggest strides, especially for us to go 4-1. It was an awfully sick feeling for me in my stomach when Trent goes down and knowing that he's going to be down for some time. Okay. I kind of go, I'm looking at the schedule going, how do we get through this to some degree? And we really did. Had I looked at the schedule beforehand, truth be told, if I were 5-3 with the schedule we played, I probably would have been really, really happy. Sure. I think the way that I wanted it to go would have been nice to get to the finals of the Charleston Classic. I don't think you expect to win at Baylor. You go to win, but I don't think you expect to win. And then, of course, the Louisville game was going to be a tough game. So either way, it would have been 5-3. The good thing about this is it was a 4-game winning streak going into the Louisville game, and you just hate to lose at home. You hate to lose in front of your fans. You hate to, I understand how much they put into it. I understand what people pay for tickets. I understand that students take their time to come to games, and we appreciate all of it, and we want to appeal to it, get back on a winning streak, and get them really excited for the second semester.
And of course, another highlight was winning against Elon. Always good to get off to that 1-0 start in conference play. Good win on the road against Elon, too.
That's a great point. You look at it, and probably, maybe, I don't know for sure, second toughest road game of the year in our league for us to get a leg up in that tiebreaker. Yeah. Nationally, you'd rather beat Louisville than Elon, but locally and conference-wise, I'd rather have that win over Elon. Sitting here right now with that tiebreaker over Elon as we head into Southern Conference play.
We'll take a break. When we come back, just one game to talk about with the game coming up against Anderson. So we figured we'd talk with Coach about his background. Grew up in West Virginia, and figure out at one point he decided he wanted to be a coach. And at one point in his life, he decided, hey, I might be pretty good at this game of basketball. We'll take a break and back with more here on the GEICO podcast right after this.
GEICO says, let's make life simpler.
Look, I'm all for modern conveniences. But ask yourself, do you really need a blender with 23 buttons just to chop an onion? At GEICO, we think life should be simpler. So we make it super simple to save on car insurance. Just one click and you could be on your way to saving hundreds. Come on, people. Life doesn't have to be that complicated.
GEICO. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And welcome back inside TD Arena for our 15 minutes or less GEICO Weekly Podcast with the head coach, Doug Wojcik. I'm Jeff McCarriger. Thanks for tuning in here on CFCSports.com. Coach, before we talk about the Anderson game, kind of wanted to talk to you about your background. Haven't had a chance really to figure out how you got into the game of basketball. I knew you grew up in West Virginia. Did you always like basketball as a kid? Did you play all those sports?
I did, yeah. My father was not a coach, but big sports guy. Kind of unique situation. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and I all went to the same high school. They've been in Wheeling, West Virginia their whole lives, and he's kind of a staple in the community and goes to all the high school games even to this day. And so I think just his influence on us, my brother and I at a young age, sports, we were big Notre Dame fans. He'd drive me to Notre Dame to see football games and just follow them on TV and things like that. So I think just like any kid, you dream big and hope that you could play sports in high school, and then certainly if you could play in college, you're fortunate. I think when you're really young, you think you can play in the NFL and the NBA. My two kids do right now anyway, so I think reality sets in at some point, but early on I was influenced by my father and really neighborhood. I grew up at a time like you that the neighborhood raised us. Kids all over the place would leave at 10 in the morning or 9 in the morning and wouldn't come back to 9 at night, and there was no concern about that. So just a whole neighborhood type of thing, and certainly my parents.
Now, how did you, I mean, were you a pretty good player in high school? How did you end up at the Naval Academy?
I was a good player. I was a three sport athlete. Wasn't a big scorer. I was very fortunate that at 14 years old, my high school coach was Skip Prosser, who went on to become the head coach at Loyola, Baltimore, Xavier, and then Wake Forest, recruited and coached Chris Paul. So I think beyond my father, he was the guy at a very young age that kind of set the dream in place for me, and I played on a really good team. We won the state championship. Wasn't a big time scorer. I was a good point guard, averaged 11 points a game, and ran the team, and just wanted to play Division I, and the Naval Academy provided me that opportunity.
And at the Naval Academy, you didn't have to be a big scorer there either. Just feed the big dog guy.
Well, at the time, none of us knew that. You know, David Robinson was recruited by VMI and Navy. He was 6'8", 190 pounds. The collection of us were all the same. Pretty much wanted to play Division I. Liked the price tag of the Naval Academy. You didn't have to pay anything. Your sacrifice was 5 years obligation as a naval officer in the Navy or Marine Corps officer in the Marine Corps. And so I thought that offset things, as did my teammates. And then he developed. And then we had a kid named Vernon Butler who was a really good player as well. Won a state title in Maryland and beat Lenny Bias's team in the state finals. So the collection of us really became a unique team, a special team, something that probably won't be duplicated at the Naval Academy again.
So after playing with David Robinson and the Naval Academy, obviously some good teams with you guys there and some good memories. At what point did you decide, hey, I want to be a coach? Because you end up as an assistant at some big time programs with Michigan State and North Carolina. But at what point did you think, hey, I might want to be a coach?
Well, I'm fortunate. It's a lot of things are about credibility too. I mean, everyone sort of remembers that Navy team. We played in 3 NCAA tournaments. We lost to Duke in 1986 to go to the Final Four, and that's Coach Krzyzewski's first Final Four team. And so I just had a great experience. I went in the Navy. I went to a ship, and in a way, you're a division officer. You are a coach. You're in charge of 40, 50 people. And did my sea tour, and then I came back to the Naval Academy. I kind of politicked for it, came back to the Naval Academy and started my coaching career there while I was still serving my 5-year obligation. Coach Prosser was in college by then, and I just saw the experiences he had, experiences I had as a player, and I just knew that I could parlay it into college coaching, particularly at the Naval Academy, and then made my moves after 9 years coaching there.
Well, some good memories, I'm sure, at Michigan State and at North Carolina. A lot of people have asked me what your biggest memories were of those places and those teams. And I said I haven't had a chance to talk to them about it yet. I haven't had a chance, but I'm sure some good times.
Well, a few things. In the 90s, we went to 3 NCAA tournaments as an assistant coach at Navy. That's a major accomplishment that on a national level people don't realize, but 3 NCAA tournaments in 9 years is pretty good at Navy. Yeah. And then Notre Dame, when I got the Notre Dame job, my dad could he could die and go to heaven then. He was a pretty happy guy. And we beat UConn twice that year, got to the NIT finals, and then great memories at North Carolina, beating Duke in our first game at Cameron. Chapel Hill that night was crazy. And then, of course, at Michigan State, we went to the 2005 Final Four. And Tom Izzo is just a special guy to have a relationship with. So a lot of fond memories, a lot of great experiences, and certainly very, very fortunate to have those things happen to me.
Just about 30 seconds left here, 2 minutes, so we'll have you put your coach's hat back on and talk about this Anderson team that comes in. 3 big-time scorers. This program, although they've only been a 4-year institution since 1995, they had some good success. They've won their conference title a couple of times. They've been to 3 Division II NCAA tournament appearances, so a pretty tough team.
Well, in my opinion, it's about us. It's about us getting through finals and the stress of finals and the first month of the season and coming out and playing hard, just like we played hard against Aiken and just like we played hard against Towson. We're going to have a little rust on our game, get the rust off, and then you have the weekend to prepare for an Old Dominion team and then a Coastal Carolina team before the kids break for Christmas. So certainly about Anderson, not taking them lightly, but at the same time really about us getting back to who we are and having some success and feeling good about ourselves.
Well, congratulations on the start. 5-3, 1-0 in conference play through the first 8, and now a chance to focus on basketball here for the next week or so for the guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for your time. That's Doug Wojcik, head coach for the College of Charleston, on our 15 Minutes or Less GEICO podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week.